Hey everybody, thank you all for coming. There's so much going on. I may have to do 3 videos today and I don't know if I can get it all in, but we're just going to talk about Bitcoin right now. Everything that happened this week, including some dumpage that we kind of expected but weren't sure when it was going to happen, and it explains a lot of the price action, as well as a new discovery, and as well as me absolutely losing my mind with idiots that do not tell the truth. So, let's jump in. Thank you all for coming. Thank you as well to TNT Tesla, Pancake Panda, Brock. Make sure I get it all. Miles in Arizona. Everybody out there. Sean Donnelly. Thank you all. Let's go. So, weekend party. And thank you to everybody on Patreon. I will forget to add the Bitcoin only playlist. But I got playlists for everything from personalities in investing to different assets. You name it. It's all there. What's really crazy is we have less than 2 weeks to go. Friday. In a week and a half, almost, we'll have the Bitcoin halving. And that's going to break a lot of things as well. So it's an exciting time to be alive. Remember as well, this is cool from Carl Menger. 99% of blocks have been mined until the next halving. There's only 2 left. 2 blocks left. Or 2.024 remaining, or whatever that is. I don't know. Anyway, not long to go. Now, first of all, let's do some FUD eradication. This is kind of interesting. It shows you the Federal Reserve says Bitcoin are like Beanie Babies. I had to Google what a Beanie Baby was, but apparently it's a little stuffed toy filled with beans, and they were collector's items back in the day. We have a government official that's paid by us to tell us that Bitcoin is the same as Beanie Babies, and Bitcoin has no other use other than to subvert marijuana laws. I mean, we need changes. Big time. The biggest money runner on the planet, Larry Fink, is on board. And this tool, who is part of the Federal Reserve, is just an idiot. Thank you, Fred Krueger, as well, for pointing it out. And do not touch my fiat. Do not threaten my fiat. From Neil Kashkari. Looks like the dude from The Mummy. No idea what The Mummy is, but there is a striking similarity as well. What's with government? It's as if they got some type of weird infection in their brain 4 years ago and they all got completely stupid on us. Maybe. And Rip Van Winkle has things to say. Don't get it twisted. These a-holes understand why people need Bitcoin perfectly well. Yes, very true, Rip Van Winkle. We're supposed to believe that people who work for the Fed and Jamie Dimon at JP Morgan and Gary Gensler don't see the value in Bitcoin. Gensler was a temporary professor at MIT giving classes on Bitcoin. He knows exactly what it's about. And yet they FUD it to death. And Rip Van Winkle is like me. He's very upset. It's insulting. We see you for who and what you are. You've sold your soul to the fiat devil, whatever you want it to be. You're lying through your teeth in order to keep honest, hardworking people trapped in debt slavery. It's disgusting. This poop really infuriates me. The banksters have to go, and the government officials. They all have to go. Thank you, Rip Van Winkle. Sorry for being a little extra passionate on a Saturday morning. But there's more. And then you have people like gold shills. Peter Schiff, who officially was on a podcast with Pomp. And he said he sells gold. He takes the commission and he buys emerging market stocks, which, by the way, have underperformed the S&P for the last 20 years. So it shows you 2 things. 1, he's a gold shill. And 2, he doesn't know how to invest. 3, he's giving you financial advice that's wrong. Okay? He says, sell your Bitcoin and buy some gold or have fun staying poor. I'm trying to steal Michael Saylor's line. He's not even original. Peter Schiff, you're a fool. Oh, by the way, I forgot to share my Oh, I have it. Yes. Gold divided by M2 over the last 14 years was out of sequence. But the chart does not lie. If you go back 52 years, 30 years, 40 years, 20 years, 10 years, 5 years, I don't care. You look at gold performance, They're excited now because it's made a new all-time high. Well, the government is printing $1.6 trillion every 2 weeks in debt. Of course it's going to go up. Everything's going to go up. But when you look at this, this is since 2011, 14 years. Gold is down 28% when you divide it by the increase in M2 money supply. That's how you should measure every single asset, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? You are going to remain poor if you invest in gold. Unless, of course, there's a nuclear war. And if that's the case, we're all toast anyway, so. But there's more. JP Morgan. This is funny. A little piece in the past. February 24th, JP Morgan predicts Bitcoin halving already priced in and a major correction is ahead. By the way, Bitcoin was at $50,000 when they said this. Now, as we speak, it's pumping to $68,500. I know, pretty good return for a couple of weeks. Anywho, remember, some people call them lying buggers. JP Morgan now says, well, Bitcoin is still overbought, predicts $42,000 post-halving, and reduced miner awards and higher production costs were cited as primary reasons. These people really don't understand, but the point is they do. They do. This is the crazy thing. JP Morgan, JB Diamond, the biggest FUD artist in history. And by the way, he's been wrong for years. Look at all the times he's been on CNBC. Write down what he said. I do in a little notepad. Wrong. He talked about the massive hurricane coming to destroy the markets. Obviously, they were very heavily hedged to the short side as well when they said this. It never came. It never occurred because of the AI revolution, which I'll try get a video in later to talk more about exactly what's going on there too. Anyway, JP Morgan as well. They have multiple companies that are building on the blockchain. And they have multiple entities within the umbrella of JP Morgan that are stacking Bitcoin. You can't make this up. Again, as Rip Van Winkle said, they are lying through their teeth, everybody. Remember, do not trust anybody. I had to say that a lot this year. Kind of crazy. What else we got? Let's get back to Bitcoin. I just tired. No matter where you look, the gold shills, the banksters, the government officials, they're all lying to you. All of them. Ask yourself why. They don't want you to have something good that you need to protect your family. It's mad. Anyway, back to Bitcoin. There's some crazy things have happened. On aggregate, over the last 30 days, this is from James Van Straten, 136,000 Bitcoin have been stacked by all cohorts, not just the ETFs. And this has eclipsed the peak ETF period. And monthly issuance is only 27,000 Bitcoin, which will be 13,500 in 13 days. You guys know I like patterns and numbers. I'm going to repeat that as well. 13,500 Bitcoin are being issued every month. It will be issued every month in 13 days. Okay? 13,000 in 13 days. Special. And by the way, all of the drainage here has come from primarily Coinbase. Interesting note. Now let's talk about the flippening. Everybody's saying, when flippening? This is from HODL 15. And it is the amount of Bitcoin held by Grayscale. You can see the dump page from 619,000 to 322,000. And we now have 264,000 at Blackrock. The question is, when will they flip? I.e., when will Blackrock have more Bitcoin than Grayscale? And Grayscale have been doing this for a decade. Okay? And they lost half their bag in 59 days. Kind of remarkable. The question is, how many more days will it take until the Bitcoin bag at Blackrock is bigger than Grayscale? The answer is not very long. Again, shout out to Rational Root. When flippening, BlackRock is likely to flip Grayscale by the halving in 13 days. Because we know, as I mentioned yesterday, the big money waited 90 days to see if this thing was going to blow up or not, or if it's going to go to zero. When they listen to JP Morgan, they say, oh, it's probably a bad thing to touch because it's already priced in. No. Big money's coming. Big money also knows 13 days to the halving. Therefore, the fuse is lit. After the halving, Bitcoin tends to go up, and that's when it really goes parabolic. So we'll see. Also, some crazy observations I noticed this morning. There is an ARB delta. By the way, this was taken probably about half an hour ago. Bitcoin's gone up $400 since then. But I've noticed a big discrepancy between the price on Binance and the price on Coinbase. It's normally the other way around, where Binance is cheaper than Coinbase, but all of a sudden, Binance is more expensive than Coinbase. 68,132 versus 67,900 and whatever. So it's nearly a $200 difference, which is kind of substantial. And there used to be people that played the ARB on these deltas all the time. So watch that carefully. This can be a sign. We're going to see a lot of these discrepancies happen from different exchanges because simply the buy orders will exceed the sell orders. Therefore, price has to be skewed upside to entice more people to sell. It's just how markets work. Now, back to Fred Krueger, who is Mr. 100, put a survey out 29 minutes ago, and Middle Eastern buyer, 66% of you all think it's about 2,000 votes already. It's going to be a lot higher in 24 hours. But Zuckerberg, I don't think, is the buyer because he's been stacking Bitcoin for a long time. He just doesn't talk about it, which is like the rules of Fight Club. You don't talk about Fight Club. Number one rule, second rule, third rule. Okay. So Jeff Bezos, I don't think so. Well, he probably is stacking some, but he's more interested in robots as well. But it is some type of Middle Eastern buyer, and we have lots of breadcrumbs that lead us to that path. So we shall see. Yeah. Oh, by the way, Zuckerberg didn't want the Winklevi twins to become richer than him, so that's why he stacked, apparently, rumor has it, Bitcoin at an early stage as well. Shout out to the Winklevoss twins. Now let's get into some charts, and then we'll go to the magic discovery that I figured out. Again, sometimes I lay awake at night thinking, why does Bitcoin always pump at the weekends? I found the answer. So, day 59, raw numbers. You can see you got a little darker orange down the bottom right corner for Grayscale, but we got a nice dark green as well for Blackrock, 309.8 million. Fidelity, Steady Eddie, and the rest kind of non-existent. It's as if, because I'm doing a detailed analysis of the buy and sell action for these ETFs across the different days and trying to anchor in on the most popular day, the suckiest day, etc. And it doesn't have any impact on the actual Bitcoin price because the buyers don't actually care about the price. They don't even probably know what the Bitcoin price is. They just see $42 for a share of IBIT or whatever, and they just jump in there. All right, let's look at what this looks like. Blackrock red up. They had their second strongest day in about 12 days. Not bad. Grayscale, a little bit of a dump. And again, the rest, non-existent to a large extent. Money flow stays positive, taking in about $250 million yesterday. Total money flow still up and to the right. We watch that red line very carefully. We want that to continue to increase. And you can see the blue bars, again, very steady between day 58 and day 59 yesterday. So we like that despite the extra dump. But I'll get to another dump that you may not be aware of that actually happened this week too. So let's go to the next one. Total money flow with trend lines. You can see here, the trend line for the blue bars is still slightly up, ever so slightly. I do expect that to accelerate over the next 2 weeks because the big money has arrived. Like I mentioned in yesterday's video, welcome the big money. And they want to try snag some before the halving because they are at least half as smart to know that that will have an impact. And the big green trend line is still very much up and to the right. And flows, you can see here, massive 12.5 billion into Blackrock, 7 billion into Fidelity, huge 15.5 billion out of Grayscale, and a net nearly 9 billion in total billion into the ETFs, 24.4 billion in 59 days, which is stunning. The question is, like when I forecast this out, when the ETFs were actually approved, I said it would be massively bullish if we got 50 billion into the ETFs in 1 year. We're halfway there in 59 days, ladies and gentlemen. It's way beyond my wildest dreams. And we're just getting warmed up, which is nuts. Absolutely nuts. Let's look at the actual Bitcoin flow. 519,000 Bitcoin in the new ETFs. Big bag there at Blackrock. And soon to eclipse our friends at Grayscale. Grayscale dumpage. This is interesting. This chart here. Right down to exactly hitting the trend line. That's there. So that is basically the diminishing dumpage for Grayscale. Big dumpage day on Friday. but it was just under $200 million, way less than the 75s you had for 3 days in a row, which again can be easily digested. But there's another big dumper out there as well, we'll get to in a minute. But overall, as long as we stay above that pink line, I do not get concerned, because it will be diminishing. Most of the flush is gone. Somebody had a bad meal for the last 59 days. It's nearly cleared the system. That's the easy way to think about it. Let's look at the amount of Bitcoin removed from the system. Speaking of clearing the system, yesterday, 3,006 Bitcoin were pulled from the system. The day before, 3,114. Wow. If you look at the green line, the amount of Bitcoin being pulled from the system is actually going down. Despite people ask these questions, they say, how come this trend line's going down, this one's going up? Well, when the ETFs launched, Bitcoin was only about $40,000, $42,000. Now it's at $68,500. So the amount of dollars is increasing into the space, but the amount that they buy is less Bitcoin, so less Bitcoin are being pulled from the system. So hope everybody's clear on that. Now let's get into some interesting stuff. Bitcoin chart time. First chart is the U.S. government sold 31,800 Bitcoin this week. That's a big bag, okay? This is stuff that the U.S. government got from seizures, hackers, Silk Road, yada, yada, yada. And that 31,800 Bitcoin was worth about $2.2 billion. And they pushed it to Coinbase, and Coinbase sold it. So people are wondering, hey, with the ETFs buying all this stuff, how come the price isn't going up? That's the reason this week, okay? That's a big bag. That makes Mr. 100 look small in terms of the amount that they're dumping as well. So that's the first problem. Now, going back to the government as well, they still have 177,000 left, and they'll probably stagger that out over time. Every quarter, they'll sell a piece. Who cares? The market can digest it. So Bitcoin still went up this week despite this big dumpage and a lot of the other dumpage from Grayscale. And the ETF still swamped it all, which is really good news. Now, I told you I'm crunching all the numbers, thinking of different things to try and identify. And these are all the numbers here so far from every day of the ETF by every single fund, and the Bitcoin price and the date and the amount of Bitcoin and the amount of dollars, all that stuff to create all our different charts every single day. Big thank you to the team. That helps maintain this puppy so you can see what's going on. Now, last night, I said, why? Because I always say on Friday's show, I said, it's okay, it's the weekend, Bitcoin's going to pump. Why do I always say that? People say, how do you know it's going to pump? Well, here we go. So what I did was I calculated it didn't matter about the flow or anything else, the price of Bitcoin at the close of the market on Friday and the price of Bitcoin opening when the market opens on a Monday. Now, just so people don't go mad, there are some days where the markets are closed on a Friday. There are some days so far in the last 59 days where the market's closed on a Monday, one of each. If that's the case, I take the Friday that's open and I go to the Tuesday. Okay, same thing if the market is closed on a Friday, I take the Thursday price and take the Monday opening price. So for those armchair critics out there, remember that as well when you check my math. Now, what's interesting about this, we had the big FTX dumpage in the early weeks. So this actually represents 59 days, but it's only the Fridays, Mondays, or in some cases, Tuesdays, Fridays, etc. And we went through some hell. We had the big FTX dump, and then a couple of weeks ago, we had the big DCG Genesis dump as well. But the key thing is, overall, look at that red trend line. The price action, the gainers are going up. We had in the middle of the stretch some very big gainers over the weekend. And overall, only 3 to 4 negative weekends. But the negative weekends weren't that bad except for the very first or second one. After that, the returns have been crazy. So the average weekend gain since the ETFs have launched, everybody, is 2.45%. So you could blindly buy Bitcoin on a Friday before the market closes, sell it on Monday when the market opens. You will make, on average, $1,400 to $1,500 on that trade per Bitcoin. 2.5% in 3 days. Not bad, not bad. I just thought that was a fun little pattern. We'll see if it continues. Model is built. it's automatically fed. So we'll be able to refer to this every week now as well as another excerpt too. So thank you all for coming. I'll be back in a couple of hours with some other good, interesting stuff. And crazy things happen this week. Super exciting week. Thank you all for coming. I don't think I've ever had nearly 7,500 people watching live on a Saturday morning. Appreciate you all for coming. Hit the like on the way out so people can get this message. They have 13 days left to get a little piece of Bitcoin, because we know after, crazy things are going to happen. It's just supply and demand. Thank you as well to the mods in the chat. I'll see you all later. Bye-bye.